Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another video. Something that I've noticed as I've gone out with my friends and family is there's a lot less people not wearing a mask out there. And I'm not sure how you feel about that, but for me as someone who's fully vaccinated, I was a little bit scared about that. But in this video, I want to talk about 3 reasons why you should feel confident that if you're fully vaccinated, you are protected against COVID-19. And if you're currently not vaccinated or are still debating whether you should get the second dose, hopefully this video will motivate you to sign up and get your own vaccine so that way you too can be protected from COVID-19. But before I get started, if you're watching me for the first time, welcome to the channel TraumacistRx. My name is Freddie. I'm a critical care pharmacist, and on this channel my focus is on making healthcare information easier to understand so that way you can make better decisions and stay informed in your own life. So as I mentioned, there's a lot more places now opening up here in the United States following the CDC guidelines and mask updates that more people who are fully vaccinated can now do more activities without wearing a mask if they're fully vaccinated. So if you're not quite sure if you're fully vaccinated, you are fully vaccinated 2 weeks after the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines, receiving both doses, and also 2 weeks after receiving the single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And that's all you need to be fully vaccinated. Another thing you might be wondering is why have we made this transition? Is it all because COVID-19 really wasn't real? Is this all political? And things like that? And the answer is no. The reason why we're making these transitions and being able to open up, have less mask wearing mandates and things like that is because of what we know about COVID-19 infection, which is we have protocols and treatments that can help patients fight COVID-19 in the hospital much easier. We have more people vaccinated. And we also know a lot more about how strong our vaccines are in fighting COVID-19. So let's break that down now. So the first reason you should feel confident that you're being protected from the COVID-19 vaccines is because once you are fully vaccinated, the COVID-19 vaccines have been shown to decrease the spread of COVID-19. So let's break that down even further. In over 14 studies so far, they have showed that those that were fully vaccinated had a 1.6 to 20 times less viral load than those compared to patients who were not vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. So what is viral load in the first place? Viral load is the amount of virus in your body once you are infected with any virus. Doesn't really matter if it's COVID-19 or not. But in this case, they studied the viral load of COVID-19 virus particles in patients, and it showed that if you were fully vaccinated, you had less viral load, and in turn, what less viral load means is there's less virus in your body that can spread, mutate, cause severe infection, spread to your own organs, cause organ damage, and also spread to other people. So if you were to compare someone who's fully vaccinated and someone who was unvaccinated, you would see that if both of them coughed, less virus would come out of their body and spread to other people. That's one way of looking at it. So another reason why you should feel confident that the vaccines are protecting you against COVID-19 is because in many studies from the CDC, they have shown that those that are fully vaccinated had 10 times more virus fighting power compared to those that were not vaccinated and previously exposed to COVID-19. So what does this mean? It means that if you are fully vaccinated, you are more prepared to fight COVID-19 at least 10 times more than those that were not vaccinated, exposed to COVID-19 previously. So I think this is an important point to bring up. A lot of the people who I've met or talked to that haven't been vaccinated yet are really hesitant because they think that getting the vaccine is an unhealthy way to protect themselves from COVID-19. So the reality is, if you're someone or someone you know is waiting to get natural immunity from getting infected with COVID-19, you're not only putting yourself at risk, you're putting your friends and family and everyone around you who's not vaccinated at risk. You're spreading COVID-19, allowing it to use your body as a factory to mutate, to get stronger, and create a variant that could possibly overcome our vaccines. And you're exposing yourself and others to long-term complications of COVID-19. We don't even know them all yet. We've only been in this for about a year. But what we do know is that those who have had previous COVID-19 infections, they have higher risk of neuromuscular disease and complications, such as weakness in their arms and legs, not being able to walk straight or walk correctly like normal. We have patients who have increased risk of hypertension and diabetes, increased risk of stroke, also increased risk of respiratory diseases and lung disorders. And in some cases, a lot of patients who did have COVID-19 had to have lung transplants or long-term rehabilitation of their lungs. I've also seen in the ICU patients who have had previous COVID-19 infections that they've overcome months ago, coming back to the hospital multiple times just because they're getting more infections from the community, or they're not able to sustain their own respiratory drive and therefore have to be re-intubated again and stay in our unit until they can get better. And I feel like this is only the start of it. We don't fully know, like I mentioned, all the complications of COVID-19, and I think it's better off that no one gets infected, whether you're young or old, just because we don't know enough about the complications that can happen later in life. So the third reason why you should feel confident in getting the COVID-19 vaccine is that the vaccines have been shown to decrease severe infection, hospitalization, and death, which are all super important and probably the most important reasons why you should get vaccinated in the first place. And to be honest, I don't know exactly how to convince people about this except for to share my own personal experience. So as an ICU pharmacist, I had the opportunity to take care of COVID-19 patients back in January when the surge hit a lot of parts of our country. Specifically at my hospital, over 30% of our population at that time, or over 70 beds, were full of COVID-19 patients. 25 of those patients were ICU level patients who required ventilation, proning, a whole team of respiratory therapists, ICU docs, pharmacists, and things like that just to stay healthy. And over 50 patients who had to stay at our hospital basically in quarantine and get care at our COVID-19 medical surgical unit. In addition to that, because we weren't quite sure how the surge was going to affect us, we had to separate part of our emergency department as a COVID-19 patient holding zone to allow patients who had COVID-19 but needed treatment to wait there until we could free up a bed for them. And going back to the ICU, some things that I remember that were kind of traumatizing in a way is that some days, let's say on my Monday, I had 25 COVID-19 ICU level patients. By that Wednesday, 10 of those patients would pass away, and then we'd get a new set of 10 patients that we would take care of in the COVID-19 ICU. That's how crazy it was back then. But now fast forward to now, with more people getting vaccinated and currently over 44.5% of the United States getting vaccinated, there's actually not really that many COVID-19 patients in our ICU. I've maybe seen a few patients there, but of the patients I've seen in our ICU who have COVID-19, those were all patients who did not have a history of getting COVID-19 vaccination. So that's maybe something to think about for you. The COVID-19 vaccines definitely decrease hospitalizations. I haven't really seen a COVID-19 death in a while. And the only patients who are coming to the ICU with COVID-19 are those that are unvaccinated. So think about it like that. So now that I've shared 3 reasons why you should feel confident in getting the COVID-19 vaccines and how they will protect you against COVID-19, I wanted to share some thoughts about all the changes that are happening with all the policies and things out there. So as I mentioned, over 44.5% of the United States is currently fully vaccinated. That means that the rest of the United States is either only had the first dose and not the second dose, or are currently have no doses injected into them. And that's kind of scary to me, especially with the new Delta variant out there, which is more transmissible, more infectious, spreading around, first in India, UK, and now, as of today, in June 25th, over 20% of all COVID-19 cases in the United States are Delta variant cases, which is crazy. But to put this into perspective, 44.5%, less than 50% of people are fully vaccinated. That means that if you are going out with your friends and family to a restaurant, to the grocery store, to the movie theater, think about it like this. If your county has a not very high vaccination rate, over 50% of the people around you may or may not have a COVID-19 vaccine injected into them. And that leads to potentially more spread, especially with this Delta variant, and more infection, hospitalization, surges potentially, and more opportunity for more variants to arise, which is also pretty scary. So another thing we should start thinking about is, as we're reopening, we should just continue to stay flexible. With more variants out there and different cases and deaths and things like that, it wouldn't surprise me that we again go through this fluctuation of reopening, opening, businesses changing their masking and unmasking policies as we move forward until we're pretty much all vaccinated. So consider, if you go to the gym, A lot of gyms that I know have taken out their mask policies. Might be handy to just keep one on or wear one while you work out if you're comfortable with that. But also just try to keep yourself out of high-risk situations. And if you do find yourself in a high-risk situation, you have a mask handy. So plan ahead for that as well. Another thing we should also be mindful of is that COVID-19 has affected all of us in a lot of different ways. Some people might still have anxiety from wearing a mask and getting infected with COVID-19. Other people might not feel comfortable taking off their mask yet. So I think as we continue to open up, it might be a good idea to just keep an open mind for people who are dealing with other things in their lives that you might not know about and feel more comfortable wearing a mask, like myself and many other people. It is definitely totally okay to continue to wear a mask, especially as we continue to reopen. As long as you're doing what's right to protect yourself and your family, I think that's what you should do. Protect yourself and your family from COVID-19 any way you can. So for me, at a minimum, what I plan to do for the rest of summer until more things change as far as COVID-19 vaccine rates, deaths, and infections, what I plan to do is continue to wear a mask when I'm at the hospital where I work at, as well as in a medical office or around sick patients or patients with an active illness. I also plan to wear my mask around people who I'm not quite sure are 100% fully vaccinated, whether or not the event says they're had to test negative or not or anything like that. I'll continue to wear my mask around places where I can't social distance or physical distance from people that I don't know are vaccinated. And I also plan to keep a mask handy and wear it around people who are high-risk individuals. So those with multiple comorbidities such as hypertension, diabetes, as well as those who are immunocompromised, just because we don't know enough information about how the COVID-19 vaccines, how long their immunity will last, if we'll need boosters in the future and things like that. And I don't want to be a person to inadvertently spread COVID-19 to someone else even though I'm fully vaccinated. And pretty much I'll keep a mask handy until we reach herd immunity here in the United States and probably around the world, which is considered 70 to 85% of fully vaccinated individuals. So until we reach that point, I'll keep a mask handy in my car wherever I go, just because it's better to be safe than sorry. You never know if there's other variants besides the Delta variant that are in your area that might overcome some vaccine protection in the future. So might as well just stay safe, doesn't hurt. So there you go. These are my reasons, some of my thoughts on some of the changes that are happening and how I feel about being fully vaccinated and being protected against COVID-19. I hope this video will help you or someone you know make the right decision, get vaccinated, and protect yourself and your family from COVID-19. If you learned something today, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing. Also, feel free to comment below your thoughts on the current situation, what you feel about vaccines in general, and any topics you want me to cover in the future. Also, feel free to comment any feedback you have below. This is my second video, so I just want to get better and try to help more people get the word out there as well. So thanks again. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.